The galaxy had forgotten Earth. They believed humanity would fade quietly into the night, too small, too fractured, too fragile to matter. But silence does not mean surrender. For years, whispers spread through the stews of an ancient power awakening, of shipyards hidden in the black, forges burning beneath dead moons, and men and women who had sworn never again to kneel. Now the silence was broken. 12,000 warships, human warships, rose from the void in a single breath. Hulls of steel glinting like knives, engines igniting with the fury of a billion lives lost. The sky itself trembled as their shadows stretched across worlds that once mocked us. And at the heart of it stood one human, chosen not by destiny, but by grief, defiance, and an oath carved in blood. The galaxy thought Earth had no voice. But when humanity finally spoke, its answer shook the stars. So tell me, what happens when those who were underestimated become unstoppable? Captain Elias Rourke never asked for history to find him. His world had been quiet once. A quiet earned, not given. He'd spent his early years in the shipyards of Luna, where silence was broken only by the groan of steel plates being welded together and the rhythm of hammers against titanium hulls. To most, they were just workers, patching freight haulers and repairing tired ore barges. To Elias, it was home, the scent of scorched metal, the hum of reactors cooling, the way his father's voice carried across the cavernous docks. It was all he knew. But home had burned once before. When he was 12, the Vehlari descended on Titan Station. They called it a demonstration, a lesson to remind Earth of its place in the galaxy. To Elias, it was the night the stars bled. Flames licked the ice fields, screams carried through fractured comms, and he remembered clutching his sister's hand as his father sealed them into an escape pod. His father never followed. Some wounds never closed. Years passed, and Elias became what his father had once been, a shipwright. Yet his hands never forgot the trembling of that pod, the sound of alien voices counting down the seconds until annihilation. He learned to hide the fire in his chest, to speak with measured calm even when hatred threatened to spill from his lips. Still, rumors spread, rumors that Earth was building something more than cargo ships, that beneath forgotten moons, shipyards stirred again. Men and women like Elias were recruited, their skills honed not for trade but for war. And though no one spoke it aloud, every rivet driven into armored hulls carried a silent vow: never again. Elias had built hundreds of ships before he ever sat in a captain's chair. But the day came when his name was called, when his quiet loyalty was repaid with command. The Aegis, one of the 12,000 warships hidden in the void, awaited him. Sleek lines of burnished steel stretched for kilometers, a predator draped in shadow. Its crew looked to him not as a legend, but as one of their own, a man who had known loss, who carried scars they could recognize. Life aboard the Aegis was nothing like the shipyards. Every corridor hummed with suppressed anticipation. Pilots ran endless drills, engineers tuned plasma cores until their fingers bled, and the medics whispered prayers over empty stretchers waiting to be filled. Humanity had been silent for too long, and silence had grown teeth. Yet for all the iron and fire, it was the small moments that weighed on Elias. The way his crew carved old Earth insignias into their bunks, carrying fragments of home into the void. The way his helmsman, barely 20, kept a photo of his younger brother taped above the console. The way silence fell in the mess hall whenever news of alien incursions crackled over distant comms. They were preparing for a storm no one had yet seen. The galaxy still believed Earth weak, fractured, unworthy of fear. The Vehlari believed their demonstration decades ago had broken humanity forever. Elias knew better. He could feel it in the bones of his ship, in the hearts of his crew. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was the inhale before the roar. And when the order came, when 12,000 ships lit their engines in unison, the galaxy would learn what his father had died for. That Earth would never kneel again. The first blip appeared on the long-range sensors just after orbital dusk. A single Vehlari scout skimming the edge of the Oort expanse, a faint shimmer against the void. Most would have shrugged at a lone vessel, easy prey for any hunter. But Elias didn't. He had learned early that the smallest signal could carry the weight of death. "Status?" he barked, voice calm but sharp. The bridge of the E-Day hummed with quiet tension. Every officer knew the drill, every hand poised, but the air was thick with anticipation. Scout heading our vector, Captain. Signature indicates light weapons only, but moving fast, reported Lieutenant Maravay, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. Her brow furrowed. It's evading detection patterns. Almost intentional. The word cut through Elias like a blade. This was no random scout. It was a test, a signal that the galaxy had not forgotten humanity, but that they still underestimated it. Elias leaned forward, feeling the familiar burn in his chest, the fire of strategy, of instinct honed by years in the shadow of loss. Prepare intercept drones. Bring the scout into visual range, but maintain stealth. I don't want them knowing how many of us are awake yet. A quiet tension settled over the bridge. Outside, the black of space stretched endlessly, speckled with distant suns and the glimmer of hidden ships. Humanity's fleet was massive, but most of it was cloaked, scattered across hidden asteroid belts, shadowed beneath debris fields. 12,000 ships waiting, breathing, a heartbeat across the galaxy. Minutes stretched into agonizing seconds as the scout edged closer. Then, suddenly, the void erupted. The Vehlari deployed swarms, small, needle-like fighters moving with eerie coordination. Sensors screamed as the drones scattered, seeking gaps, probing weaknesses. Elias didn't flinch. Divert auxiliary power to forward shields. Launch counter-drones in 3, 2, now. The Aegis shuddered as tiny impacts rattled the hull, sparks dancing across reinforced plating. But humanity had built these ships not for parlor games. They had built them for survival. Counter-drones struck the swarm with surgical precision, tearing apart the alien formation in a wave of controlled detonations. One by one, the drones fell into the void, until only silence remained. Mara exhaled sharply. They underestimated us. They always do, Elias replied. But the scout wasn't finished. It veered sharply, emitting a pulse, a jolt of radiation that scrambled comms across the Aegis. Consoles blinked, sensors stuttered. Panic flared in the minds of some crew. But humanity's instinct was never to fold under pressure. It was to fight smarter. Manual override, shields at 120%. All systems back online, Elias ordered. His voice cut through the rising hum of alarms. Deploy the decoy fleet. Draw them in across the hidden sectors. Small A-class frigates blinked to life, a phantom armada rising from the dark. The scout followed, oblivious, lured by human ingenuity. For the first time in decades, Elias felt a surge of pride. Humanity had not just survived, it had learned, adapted, evolved. Then came the deep rumble, not the thrumming of the Aegis engines, nor the whistle of alien drones, but the low, resonant pulse of 1,000 hidden ships engaging at once. 12,000 warships rising from every shadow, every asteroid belt, every forgotten forge. The galaxy had believed Earth was silent. It had believed humanity fractured, meek, broken. It had been wrong. The scout turned, trying to flee, but it was too late. A net of energy beams, invisible until now, coiled around it, tightening like a predator's grasp. Elias watched as it writhed in the void, then exploded in a silent bloom of light. Humanity's signal had been sent. Yet even as victory hummed beneath his hands, a new threat appeared. A Vehlari dreadnought, its hull bristling with weapons that outclassed anything humanity had yet deployed. It moved with slow inevitability, a predator aware of its prey's strength, but confident in its own dominance. Estimated time to engagement, 21 minutes, Mara said. Her voice was steady, but Elias could feel the tension pulsing beneath it. 21 minutes. To most, it would be an eternity. To humanity, it was an opportunity. Sound the fleet, Elias commanded. Let them see the answer to their arrogance. Bring every hidden ship into formation. Today, we remind the galaxy what it means to underestimate humanity. The fleet shimmered into existence like a tide of living steel. Each ship a promise, each pilot a vow. The dreadnought's sensors flared, overwhelmed by numbers, by coordination, by audacity. Humanity was not just fighting to survive, It was rising to claim its place among the stars. Elias gripped the armrest, eyes scanning the void. The dreadnought loomed larger, its engines flared with malevolent intent. And then, in the silence in between stars, a single thought struck him. This is only the beginning. The countdown to war had begun. The dreadnought loomed before them, a leviathan of dark metal and searing energy. Its hull bristled with weapons that could annihilate the Aegis in seconds. Yet Elias didn't flinch. Around him, 12,000 warships aligned like a living tide, a force born of silent determination, grief, and centuries of underestimated humanity. All wings to attack positions. Elias's voice cut across the bridge, firm, commanding. Remember why we fight. Remember Earth outside, the void seemed to shrink. Alien fire cut streaks of crimson through the darkness, hammering the fleet with precision and rage. The dreadnought responded with volleys that turned empty space into a storm of destruction. Ships disintegrated in brilliant arcs of plasma, screaming silently across the void. Yet humanity did not falter. Each maneuver was calculated, each strike coordinated with the rhythm of a people who refused to surrender. Frigates darted in and out of the dreadnought's firing arcs, drawing its attention, while the capital ships formed a crescent around it, lasers converging like the hands of a hammer on steel. Elias's hands were steady on the command console, but his heart thundered in his chest. Memories flashed. His father, his sister, the night the stars bled over Titan Station. Every loss had sharpened him. Every scar had taught him that survival alone was never enough. Humanity demanded more, justice, vengeance, and awe. Now, he shouted. A coordinated volley of energy, beams, torpedoes, and plasma lances erupted from the fleet, striking the dreadnought with the force of a dozen suns. Its shields flared, strained, then fractured in a brilliant cascade. Hull plates crumpled, twisted metal screamed, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed suspended in the glow of annihilation. The dreadnought countered, unleashing a final, desperate wave of fire. Elias's Aegis shuddered under the impact. Sparks rained across the bridge. Alarms screamed. Systems flickered. He looked to his crew, their eyes wide but unyielding, every one of them bound by the same unspoken vow. We will not break. Elias activated the Aegis' secret payload, a core of human ingenuity, forged in hidden forges and fueled by generations of resolve. A concentrated strike, aimed at the heart of the alien war machine. The dreadnought lurched, massive engines stuttering. Light exploded across its hull, peeling away layers of arrogance and hubris. The vacuum of space became a theater of fire and metal as the alien ship twisted in its final convulsions. And then silence. The dreadnought broke apart in a dazzling bloom of energy, scattering debris across the void. 12,000 human warships held formation, engines thrumming in the quiet aftermath, their collective breath held and released as one. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. Elias sank back in his chair, chest heaving, sweat and relief mingling on his brow. Around him, crew members allowed themselves quiet exhalations, brief glimmers of laughter, and the muted sobs of those who had faced death and returned. Yet even in victory, the weight of responsibility pressed down. Thousands had fallen, countless worlds had trembled, and the shadow of what the Vehlari could bring lingered. Humanity had won this battle, but the war for respect, recognition, and survival across the galaxy had only just begun. Elias rose, staring into the void where the enemy had once loomed. 12,000 warships, silent no longer, drifted around him, a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and unyielding spirit. He spoke, voice barely above a whisper, carrying across comms to the fleet. Let them remember this. Let every star know we will not be underestimated. Humanity rises. Humanity endures. Humanity conquers. And in the quiet hum of a million engines, the galaxy waited, awed, shaken, and certain of one truth. Earth had spoken. Here's a fully developed resolution and impact section for your HFY story. Cinematic, reflective, and voiceover ready. The dust of battle drifted across the void like the slow fall of forgotten snow. 12,000 human warships had carved a path through the darkness, leaving the shattered husks of Vehlari ships in their wake. Silence returned, but it was different now. Thick with awe, heavy with the weight of what had been accomplished. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. Captain Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the Aegis, staring out at the remnants of the battlefield. Debris floated silently, illuminated by distant stars that now seemed a little brighter. His crew moved quietly around him, each carrying the invisible scars of courage and survival. Faces once tense with fear were softened by relief, but none celebrated with frivolity. They knew the cost of what they had achieved. "Status report," Elias said, his voice calm but layered with unspoken pride. "Fleet integrity at 98%, Mara replied. "Minimal casualties, considering the scale." "Enemy systems neutralized," Elias nodded. Numbers and percentages could never capture the truth. The truth was in the hands that had steadied consoles under fire. The pilots who had risked everything in daring maneuvers. The engineers who had kept impossible machines alive while stars themselves seemed to tremble. Humanity had endured not because of overwhelming force alone, but because of ingenuity, courage, and a refusal to surrender. Across the galaxy, the effects rippled. Worlds that had once bowed in fear now whispered of Earth with a mix of awe and hesitation. Colonies long forgotten looked to their skies with hope. The whispers of rebellion against oppression began anew in quiet corners of star systems. Humanity had proven that one species, united in purpose and driven by heart and mind, could defy the impossible. Elias's thoughts drifted to those lost. The fathers, the mothers, the friends who had not survived the battle. Their memory was etched into every ship that remained, every flare of light that cut through the darkness. The fleet had been humanity's hammer, but it was their spirit that had wielded it. In the corridors of the Aegis, small acts of humanity persisted amid the grandeur of victory. Pilots polished insignias by hand. Engineers shared quiet laughter over shared victories. Medics tended to the injured, whispers of encouragement mixing with the soft hum of life support systems. Even in triumph, humanity's essence remained resilient, compassionate, and unyielding. Elias turned to the comms, addressing the fleet. His words were measured, but each syllable carried the weight of centuries of defiance. "We have shown the galaxy who we are, not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as humans, capable of courage, ingenuity, and unity beyond reckoning. Let this be a warning. Never again will humanity be underestimated. Never again will we be silenced." He paused, letting the gravity of the moment settle over the bridge. The fleet responded in kind, a synchronized hum of engines that seemed to echo across the void, a quiet anthem of persistence and hope. Beyond the battlefield, a new era began. Communication relays buzzed with reports from distant colonies, messages of support, calls to join in a collective rebuilding. Humanity had not only survived, they had inspired. Across star systems, the stories of the 12,000 warships and their resolute crews spread like wildfire. Where once there had been fear, there was now awe. Where once there had been oppression, there was now hope. And in the quiet moments when the engines hummed and the stars wheeled overhead, Elias allowed himself to dream. Dream of worlds rebuilt, alliances forged, and a galaxy that might one day understand the breadth of what humanity could accomplish when it stood united. The scars of battle would never fade, but neither would the truth of this moment. Humanity had risen. Humanity had endured. And in the endless expanse of stars, Earth's voice would resonate forever, a testament to courage, ingenuity, and that unbreakable will to survive and protect all that was cherished. In the end, the galaxy did not just remember the ships. It remembered the people, the heartbeat behind the steel, the defiance behind the fire, the spirit behind the silence. And humanity, quiet no longer, had finally claimed its place among the stars.